Terrika Foster-Brasby. So good to have you here with me today. I'm sorry that I could not be with you in studio, but girl, I had to catch a red eye from Vegas. So I just got back this morning, but we have to talk about that game for yesterday in Connecticut. Ty Harris said we are not going home. Like we are going back to Minnesota for a
Yeah.
game 5. Have yourself a game, Ty Harris.
Yeah, Ty really came out and showed out. 20 points from her. She literally was the key and the turning point from this game for this team. But I guess when you think about it though, Nat, it actually makes sense. Like she's coming off of an ankle injury that she acquired against Indiana. And it's difficult to try to find your rhythm and get back in a flow when you are getting spotty minutes, when you're coming off the floor, coming off the bench. It just doesn't, like, you're not able to really get in your groove and find your rhythm. So I think it was really smart of Stephanie White to start her in game 4, which gave her a bit more time to get back on the floor, get back in a rhythm. And clearly she ain't missed a step.
Ooh, what a game from her, and they needed every bit of it. So, especially after game 3, because they were disappointed with how they showed up. I know I saw tweets from you saying like, "This is like
I
not
don't
a
know the
team
thing.
recognized." Yeah, Steph was not pleased. So, and understandably, but everyone I talked to were like, "This is just like maybe the worst defense I've ever even seen them play." So, I don't know what got into them in game 3, but they said we are not going home. I thought Tawana Bonner after the game say, "Look, I'm old. I just want to win." It was, but there was a lot of spiciness in that game. See, Mabry always spicy, but like, seeing Lisa Collier get spicy, and then like Tawana Bonner, it was a lot of spiciness.
First of all, I'm sitting courtside at yesterday's game, so I can see very clearly and hear very clearly everything that's being said. And so, albeit for me to repeat what was said on the court, because it should remain on the court. But I was like, this Marina and Fee beef is the best thing. I didn't know I needed this, but I need this.
Is her unrivaled check going to be in jeopardy?
It was amazing. And what made it so great is that Fee knows she's that girl. So like her level of spicy is not even like hype spicy. It's like that cool, like, girl, please. So good. But I mean, when you drop 29 and 13, you get to kind of say whatever, win or lose, because you are that girl.
I'm just saying, I would like the unrivaled check to clear for Marina before you start. For anyone who doesn't know what I'm referring to, Unrivaled is a league that will be kicking off January through March, and Fee, along with Brianna Stewart, are 2 of the co-founders. Is that the best way to describe them? And so, but as a part of this league that they're helping to create, Marina Mabry is one of the players who will be a part of it. So we're just like, you better stop talking spicy to the end.
Better wait till you get some points first. Then you can talk crap.
No,
but it was great. It was the energy that you get on the court between these two teams. And realistically, like, they've had this spicy energy in almost every game of this series. Every game, even throughout the regular season, kind of was neck and neck. So I love it. Like, this is the drama that you expect to have in playoff basketball, and they're delivering.
Yes. And I love the Marina Dejanay connection after all of their past spiciness. I feel like it's one of the best storylines of the season.
Yeah, there was a young lady sitting behind me who had a sign that said it's Nabry time. And I was like, wow, who has missed the mark in marketing this nickname? Because this is quite a name, because they've become quite a duo. They really play off each other well. Marina has been such a great addition for this Sun team. Games like yesterday, games like game 1, when you come off the bench and drop 27 points, like, those are the things that are needed and necessary. And of course, Dejanay, she's continuing to bring that defensive energy. But this was really, yesterday's win was really, to me, about a couple of things. Number one, You can't allow a team to score 90 some odd points and think that you're going to get a win. Connecticut is a team that has done a great job with minimizing points. They don't typically let a team score more than 75, 76 points a game, right? So allowing Minnesota to get that high in the score column was already a key for a disaster. Another thing to me that I found interesting is that they turned around a stat that they typically don't turn around, and that is being able to capitalize after being down at the half. This team in postseason play is 0-15 when they are not leading at the
Yeah,
half.
I
So
think the Lynx were up 7 at the half,
and
right?
they were up 53-60 at the half. So it was a 7-point game. But Dewana Bonner said, we got in the locker room and it was very clear, like, we're not ready to go home. We're not ready to end this. We still got more work to do. And you can see that the defensive energy turned up. The last thing that I think that really stood out to me was Alyssa Thomas, right? Alyssa Thomas is one who has no problem calling her teammates to the forefront, calling them to the carpet. But sometimes you got to point the finger back at yourself when you aren't really executing the way that you should. She was 2 for 10 in that first half. There were a good 6 layups that Alyssa missed, and there were a couple of turnovers that Alyssa was part of creating. And so you've got to look at yourself and say, hey, wait a minute now, if I'm going to hold my teammates to this level of accountability, I've got to also be accountable for my mistakes. And so when you look at how Alyssa kind of shifted her play in the second half, specifically in the fourth quarter, you can understand how they were able to sustain their lead and keep their foot on the gas, securing this 10-point win.
Yeah, it was a really great victory for them, of course, because they now push the series to 5. Both teams have won on each other's courts. Coming into the series, I believe your prediction was the Connecticut Sun in 5, right? So I think most people saw this being a longer series. And, it was always a unique, not unique, but like, look, they say styles make fights, right? Like the playoffs are all about matchups. And I do think the Connecticut Sun are always, I think, for any team going to present a problem just because of their defense. But for Minnesota specifically, I think, even more than like a Liberty or the Aces or other teams, I think that Connecticut always presented like a more challenging matchup for them, right? So I think that's what we're seeing, on display here. And like throughout the season, Connecticut, they've been this defensive team like all year. Like they just handle teams throughout the season. And so that's why you always knew like any team that they were going to get in the postseason, it was always going to be a battle with them because they are such a defensive juggernaut. Like they are not going to let you get anything easily. And you saw that throughout the season. And you're also seeing it now play out in this postseason matchup with the Lynx. So Terrika, I know what your pick is already. In terms of, I don't think it's changed, right? I don't think your initial pick has changed from the series.
Yeah.
But I guess my question is, I don't think it would shock you if either team won. Like, even though you picked the Sun, I don't think it would shock you if either team won. So tell me, what are the keys to the Sun getting this victory? And then if they don't get it, what would be the reason that the Lynx would pull it out?
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, I can tell you the reason. The reason is the Lynx is a better shooting team than Connecticut. I mean, and it's just that plain and simple. They have at least 3 players who can strike from any distance. Nafisa Collier can get points no matter where she is on the court because she's that versatile as a player. Courtney Williams is the mid-range assassin. Like, it is dangerous when she's in the mid-range area, how she is able to connect. And then there's Kayla McBride. Kayla McBride is certainly your deep threat. And let's not forget that Bridget Carlton has the ability to shoot from distance as well. That has been their strength as it relates to coming up opponents like Connecticut, who present a defensive challenge as well. That they are a team that can shoot the 3 ball and they can shoot it well. So to me, that's always going to be the biggest difference. But
They're also a very good defensive team too.
Well, of course, but I mean, like, defense canceling each other out. That
Do
the
you
the
think they
one
cancel
thing
each other out?
I definitely think they cancel each other
Okay.
out, and I'll tell you why. Brianna Jones is someone who has been a definitive factor for this team throughout the season. Brianna Jones has been a non-factor for this team in this series because they have done such a great job canceling her out, presenting doubles to her under the basket. Every basket that she gets, she has to fight for. And that's a credit to Minnesota's defense. No other team in this league is going to be able to control or neutralize Bree Jones that way. But they found a way to do that. And that is a credit to how good defensively they are. There was moments in game 4 where Nafisa was giving Alyssa Thomas fits on the offensive end. It was just like, as good as a defender as AT is, Nafisa Collier has a way of getting under everybody's skin, right? Because she's equally as good offensively. So I think that these two teams cancel each other out defensively because we know they're the 1 and 2 teams as it relates to defense in the league. Offense is what's going to make the difference. Now, Connecticut did a great job of causing foul trouble for a couple of key players in game 4's matchup. Courtney Williams got into foul trouble early. Kayla McBride got into foul trouble early. Even Fee ended up with 5 fouls before the end of the game, right? So those kind of things matter. That means that they were forcing ball movement. They were forcing the ball in transition. They were making Minnesota have to defend them a little tougher. And unfortunately, it caused them to make errors that got them in foul trouble. You got to keep your foot on that kind of gas. That's where you have to continue to do in game 5. And they're not going to be easy in game 5. It's hard to play in the Target Center. Like, it's hard, right? So they need to channel what it was that made it work for them in game 1. They shot the ball efficiently in game 1. Yesterday, in game 4, I want to say they shot a little under 50, a total of, was it 50? Between, I think it was, I want to say it was around 50 some odd percent from 3, but it was also because they didn't shoot a whole lot of them. But the ones that they did, they crashed and nailed. And of course, that is a tribute to Ty Harris. But what am I getting at with that? Quality shot selection, right? Don't just throw the ball up because you see that you may be in a 5 or 6 or 7 point deficit. You have to take quality shots against a team that defends as well as Minnesota defends if you're shooting from outside. So I think those are the types of things that you have to do if you are Connecticut in order to walk away from a win. But, again, Minnesota's not going to make this easy. Minnesota is not going to make this easy for you. This is a good team. They have beat you already. They know that they can win against you, and they've got great leadership and a great coach, because this can also come down to who outcoaches who. That doesn't always necessarily mean anything in other series. But in this one, when you got Stephanie White and you got Cheryl Reeve, both of whom have been to WNBA championships, both of whom have coached at the highest level, so they understand what it means to place people where, who to sub, when to sub, how to play different schemes at different levels in the basketball game. Coaching is going to matter in a game 5. So I think these are two of the best.
Who do you think, I mean, teams will always say they don't care, but who do you think New York would rather face?
Probably Connecticut.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going based off wins and losses, the Lynx have kicked their butt this year several times, including the Commissioner's Cup.
Saying that, and people act like I'm crazy. Like, I mean, everyone knows that the Lynx have won, but I'm like,
do they not realize how they've won?
I'm like, they own them. Like, this hasn't been like, that's how I saw the games. And people are acting like I'm crazy. I'm like, bro, I said they've played one good quarter against the Lynx. It was a 4th quarter and they won that game. The other time, they have another quarter that they played really well when they had that fake comeback. But I call it fake because the Lynx lead was so big, they were never going to come back and win that game. And whenever you build such a big lead on a team like that, like, the let-up is natural. I'm not saying it's good, but the let-up's natural. But New York was never going to come back and win that game. But they have, and I'm counting the Commissioner's Cup because I'm not overlooking that.
Me too.
Like, I'm just like, I get it that the postseason is still a different animal, but I'm just like, I think the Lynx have like really handled New York this year.
I think as much as a team gets better, as by the time you get to this stage in the postseason, both teams have gotten better. So yeah, New York is a different, more hungry, more jailed, more chemistry team, but so is Minnesota. Like, they haven't slipped off or dipped off from that time frame. They're still just as good, if not better. So again, they probably don't care, but at the end of the day, if I'm looking at who I think will give me less trouble, I think Connecticut may give me less trouble just because, Connecticut's been a team that we have found success against multiple times over multiple years. So, that if you have to choose, if you're, New York, I'm sure that's the team that you want to see. You don't want to see the team that's beat you 3 times already in including in a Commissioner's Cup. Like, you don't want to see them. But I do think that either team has an ability, no matter if it's Connecticut or Minnesota. I think both teams will present a challenge to New York. Both of these teams defend at a higher cap than Las Vegas. So some of the shot selections that they were able to manifest over that series with the Aces, those shots may not be there against New York. I mean, against Minnesota or Connecticut. So they are looking to face a different scheme defensively, whether they face either team. So, I know that they know that they understand that the last time that they did face Connecticut, interesting, coming off a back-to-back, was in New York, and Connecticut walked away with a win in that game because they shot the ball at a higher clip and they made life a living hell for Brianna Stewart and Jonquil Jones. And I mean, that's really the key when you're looking at facing New York. Like, you've got to figure out a way to stop their big three. I don't know if you can stop all three, but you've got to try. And if you are able to take out at least 2 of the 3, you're doing pretty darn good. Many teams haven't found success in doing so, but Minnesota has, and so has Connecticut. So the Liberty is going to be up for a challenge no matter who wins, but I would think they would want to see Connecticut over Minnesota.
Do you know if Minnesota would have won last night, if they plan to stay on the East Coast? Do you have any sense of that?
I have no sense of that whatsoever. Most, teams, when they pack for the long haul. But I have no idea if they were planning to stay or not.
So whether it be Connecticut or Minnesota, do you think it's going to be a disadvantage for either team ending a series on Tuesday and then having to go play the finals on Thursday while New York is now chilling for 3 days?
I don't, because that is excuse me, that's where you get into the rest conversation. Sometimes it's rest, sometimes it's rust, right? And I don't think that either of these teams, Minnesota or Connecticut, Connecticut is quick to tell you, we're veteran players. We owe. What you don't want to do is stop, right? I think sometimes you might get into a situation. I know, when I look at my old self, I'm 40. I'm old to me, to other people who have no idea. And I'm going to tell you, if I'm doing something, we just got to go ahead and do it. Because the moment I stop and I sit down and I take a bit of a break, that's when those knees lock up. That's when your back locks up. That's when it's like, now I got to go through way too much to get warm again to be able to do what I'm doing. So I think this is actually a good thing for a team like Connecticut. Minnesota, a much younger team, but I think that they are in rhythm. And the scary thing about Minnesota is they have been in rhythm like this for a while, right? Since the Olympics, like for a while, right? So it don't matter that they got to go out and play on Thursday. Like, they have not seemed phased by this schedule whatsoever. So I guess the key is for New York, like, how do you stay ready? How do you stay hot? Make sure that these 3 days that you're getting are days of rest and not necessarily going to turn into days of rust. You don't want to come out, at home. But then let's think about this, Nat. They're going to be playing in Brooklyn. The crowd is going to be crazy. The atmosphere is going to be crazy. And this team is hungry. I mean, there's no way that I could be convinced that the Liberty aren't coming into this matchup, regardless of the opponent, with smelling blood in their air. Like, they know what they want to do, and they don't want to leave feeling the way that they felt in 2023, walking off your home court, watching another team celebrate a championship. So this is, we live in the tri-state area, right? I'm in Connecticut. You're in the New York area. Girl, this is going to be lit no matter what.
Yeah, I can't wait. Well, I'm looking forward to a few days of not having to travel.
Yeah.
But I'm also
me too.
Yeah, I'm also definitely looking forward to game 5, because I haven't been able to catch the games live, and I've had to go back and watch them because I've been covering the other series, and especially yesterday, they were back to back. So by the time I turned in, it was fourth quarter. So I went back and watched it, but it's just I want to just be in the full
Yeah, in the
you know,
mix.
moments of game 5 because I know it's going to be a great one.
Yeah.
Terrika, thank you so much as always for your insight and for joining me. I love talking with you, and I can't wait for you to come back and we discuss the finals.
For sure. Thank you.